You think the problem is that she hurt you, but the real problem is what you've been doing to yourself every single day since. Sit with that for a second, because here's what nobody is saying to you right now. Not your friends who are tired of the conversation. Not the internet, which is either telling you to numb it with hookups or cry it out in a journal. Not the culture, which has absolutely no coherent script for a man in pain that doesn't end in either rage or collapse. Nobody is sitting across from you and telling you the clean, hard, clarifying truth about what is actually happening inside you right now and what it is going to take to genuinely get through it. That's what this is. And if you are a man who has been hurt, who is tired of carrying something that was supposed to be over by now, who wants more than recycled advice and empty platitudes, subscribe right now. Not because I need the number, because you need the reminder. You need a place to come back to when the wound reopens at 2 a.m. and you're about to do something that sets you back 3 months. Bookmark this channel. Return to it. It exists for you. Now let's get into it, because this conversation matters and you deserve to have it done right. Here's the misconception. The misconception is that moving on after a woman hurts you is primarily about her, about understanding why she did what she did, about getting answers, getting closure, getting some final conversation that ties everything off neatly, about figuring out whether she regrets it, whether she's changed, whether there was ever a version of this where it worked out differently. Men spend months, sometimes years, inside that maze, replaying moments, rewriting scenes, asking questions that were never going to have satisfying answers. And they call it processing. They call it trying to understand. It isn't processing, it's orbiting. That's called orbiting. And orbiting is the single most effective way to guarantee you never actually land anywhere new. Here is the hard truth. Moving on after a woman hurts you has almost nothing to do with her. It has everything to do with you. Specifically, it has to do with the version of you that existed inside that relationship or that situation, and what that version of you was willing to accept, willing to overlook, willing to shrink down to accommodate, willing to pour into a space that wasn't giving back at the level you were giving out. The hurt she caused is real. I'm not minimizing it. Betrayal is real. Rejection is real. Being left without explanation is real. Being lied to, manipulated, or treated as an option when you were showing up as a priority is real. The pain is legitimate. But the wound underneath the wound, the one that's actually keeping you stuck, that one is older than her. And it was there waiting before she ever arrived. Why does this happen? Why do men get this tangled up and stay tangled up for so long? Because most men were never taught how to hold emotional pain without either suppressing it entirely or drowning in it. Those are the only two options most of us were shown growing up. You either toughen up and don't talk about it, or you fall apart and lose yourself in it. And both of those options have the same outcome. You never actually move through it. You go over it or under it, you never go through it. And because you never went through it, you come out the other side of one painful experience carrying the unprocessed weight of every painful experience before it, stacked, compressed, invisible until the next woman comes along and suddenly it's not just her rejection you're feeling. It's all of it. Every time you weren't enough, every time someone left, every time you trusted something and it broke. That's why it hits as hard as it does. It's not just this. It never was just this. And here's what that cost you. It cost you the next chapter, because you cannot write something new while you are still rereading the last page. Every time you check her profile, you pay for it in forward momentum. Every time you rerun the argument in your head and win it this time, you pay for it in presence. Every time you compare the woman in front of you to the ghost of the one who hurt you, you pay for it in connection. Every time you build a wall and call it standards. Every time you perform indifference and call it healing. Every time you get angry and call it strength, you pay for it in the slow erosion of your own emotional capacity. You become less available to yourself, less available to the people who actually deserve you, smaller, harder, more defended, and you call that progress. It isn't progress, it's calcification. So here's the reframe. The pain she caused is the cost of admission to the most important education you will ever receive about yourself. What you do with the curriculum is entirely up to you. You can burn the classroom down and never go back, which is what bitterness is. You can sit in the hallway and refuse to enter, which is what avoidance is. Or you can walk into the room, sit down in the discomfort, and actually learn what this specific experience was put in your path to teach you about your patterns, about your picker, about the standards you said you had versus the ones you actually held, about the places where you negotiated your own worth down to keep something close that was already leaving. That's not weakness. That's the most courageous academic work a man can do. Now I want to describe something to you. I want to paint a picture of the man who has actually done this work, because he exists and you can become him faster than you think. This man does not speak about her with venom. He doesn't need to. Venom is just love that curdled because it had nowhere to go. And this man processed his feelings through properly, so there's no poison left in the system. He can say what happened without his jaw tightening. He can acknowledge that it hurt without needing to perform how much it hurt for other people's validation. He extracted the lesson, integrated the experience, and moved, not away from it, through it. He is not pretending the relationship didn't matter. That's not what emotional health looks like. He knows it mattered. He lets it have mattered, and then he closes the chapter with both hands, cleanly, without leaving half the story open as a wound he keeps returning to pick at. His standards are not punishments. He didn't become cold to protect himself. He became clear. He knows the difference between a woman who is for him and a woman who is entertaining to him, and he no longer confuses those two categories. Not because he's been burned and learned to protect himself, but because he respects his own time and energy enough not to invest them in dead-end directions. He's not afraid of women. He's not bitter about women. He's simply calibrated in a way that disordered attraction used to prevent. He doesn't chase, not her, not anyone, not to prove a point and not out of desperation. When he pursues a woman, it comes from genuine interest and surplus, not from a scarcity mindset that makes him grip too tight and apologize too much and tolerate too little too long. He moves from abundance because he built the internal life that creates abundance. He has things that matter to him, work that challenges him, a body he's invested in, friendships that require something real from him. He is not waiting for a woman to complete a picture that was already full. And this is the part that people miss about him. He is not hard to read because he's guarded. He is easy to read because he is settled. There is no subtext when he communicates. No passive aggression, no testing, no withholding. He says what he means. He means what he says. He does not perform emotional availability while actually being emotionally unavailable. He is simply present, genuinely, groundedly present. And that presence, that settled, unflinching presence, is more attractive than any game he could play, because it comes from something real. It comes from a man who has been through the fire and came back knowing exactly who he is. That man was built through what you're currently going through. So let's talk about what you actually do now, because this isn't just philosophy. There are concrete moves to make, and I'm going to give them to you straight. Stop making her the subject of your daily mental monologue. Every conversation you have with her inside your own head is costing you something and producing nothing. You are spending real cognitive energy, real emotional bandwidth on a person who is not in the room and who cannot hear you. That energy belongs to you. Reclaim it. Every time you catch yourself beginning that internal loop, you interrupt it, not by suppressing it and pretending it didn't start, by naming it. I'm doing the loop again. And then deliberately, consciously, you redirect your attention to something that exists in the present moment in front of you. Stop performing how you feel to the wrong audience. You do not need to convince your friends she was terrible. You do not need to be seen grieving the right amount or healing at the right pace. The people around you cannot process this for you, no matter how much you talk about it. Talking about it excessively to others is a substitute for actually sitting inside it alone, and it keeps you in performance mode when what you need is private, honest reckoning. Stop checking. Stop checking her social media. Stop driving past those reference points. Stop asking mutual friends what she's up to. Every time you check, you are choosing to reopen a door that needs to stay closed for long enough that you stop feeling the draft from it. You are not gathering information, you are feeding a habit, and that habit is dressed up as needing to know, but it is actually just an addiction to the feeling, even the painful feeling, because painful feelings are at least familiar, and familiar is comfortable even when it's destroying you. Now, here's what you do instead. You get ruthlessly physical. Your body is carrying this whether you acknowledge it or not. Emotional pain lives in the nervous system. It is physiological, not just psychological. You need to give your body a legitimate outlet. Lifting, running, training, building. Not as punishment, not to get a body that makes her regret it, to release what your body is holding, and to remind yourself through physical proof that you are capable, functional, powerful, and forward moving. The gym is not about vanity right now. It is about reclaiming ownership of your physical state when your emotional state feels like it's out of your control. You get honest with yourself about what you actually lost. This is important. Was it her specifically that you're grieving, or was it the version of the future you had built in your head? Was it the real relationship or the potential you kept investing in even when the returns stopped coming? Be precise about this. Because if what you're grieving is a fantasy you constructed, then you are not mourning a loss. You are mourning an illusion. And the cure for mourning an illusion is not more time. It is more honesty. You identify exactly where you abandoned yourself. This is the hardest step and the most important one. At some point in that dynamic, there was a moment, maybe many moments, where you knew something felt wrong and you overrode it. Where you knew you deserved more and you accepted less anyway. Where you felt yourself shrinking and you let it continue. Find those moments, not to punish yourself, to understand the mechanism, to see the exact place where your self-respect had a gap and she, consciously or not, found it, because that gap was there before her, and if you don't identify it and close it, the next woman will find it too. You rebuild your sense of direction. Men without a mission are the most vulnerable men in any emotional crisis, because when a relationship ends, if the relationship was your primary source of meaning and structure, you have nothing to anchor to. Nothing to pull you forward. Nothing that demands your best energy, independent of any woman. So if you don't have that thing yet, the pursuit that genuinely engages you, the work that has stakes beyond a paycheck, the goal that makes you get up before you want to, you find it now, not after you heal, now, because finding it is part of the healing. You let yourself grieve without making the grief your identity. There is a difference between grieving and becoming a grieving man. One is a process with movement in it. The other is a static state you inhabit. You can feel loss fully and still take one step forward today. You can honor what that meant to you and still choose not to let what ended define what's possible. Both things are true at the same time. You hold both. Here is what I want to leave you with, and I need you to hear this clearly. She did not break you. You were not broken by this. You were shaken, which is different. You were exposed to something painful, which revealed things that needed to be revealed. You were forced to confront parts of yourself that you had been avoiding, which is uncomfortable and necessary, and ultimately a gift you didn't ask for and absolutely needed. That is not brokenness. That is growth with a brutal teacher. You are not the man who got hurt by a woman. You are the man who faced something real, processed it honestly, and chose to become someone who cannot be destroyed by it. That is the identity that's available to you on the other side of this. Not a hardened man, not a closed man, not a man who stopped trusting or stopped loving or stopped trying. A man who trusts better, loves smarter, tries with his eyes open and his standards intact and his self-respect non-negotiable. You are not behind. You are not damaged. You are not defined by who left you or what was done to you. You are defined by what you choose to do now. And you are choosing something real right now just by being here. Subscribe, because the conversation we just had is one of many, and what comes next builds on what came before. This channel is for men who are tired of being confused and ready to be clear. Men who are done shrinking and ready to grow. You belong in this community, and this community will be here every time you need it. Now go do the work. Not tomorrow. Right now. You are the answer. You always have been.